Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
No.
This
Just
is
stop.
a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
I'm a little out of breath because I was scrambling.
Yeah, you just came
Get your
jogging
life
in like.
together, Jim.
No, I was together. I was dropping something off at the front, and then I got to catching up. You know, the old security guy, I don't want to say his name, but I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm like, I think I have a show to do.
Yes.
And I just ran up here. So, anyways, good to reminisce. Happy Friday, everybody. Let's get to it.
Do it.
Trevor Noah is ending his run on The Daily Show. Surprise. He made the announcement last night. Let's take a look.
I realized that after the 7 years, my time is up. Yeah, but in the most beautiful way. Honestly, I've loved hosting this show, but after 7 years, I feel like it's time.
So Trevor is leaving the show because he says he wants to get back into stand-up, but some people say it's the ratings to blame. So compared to Jon Stewart, let's just put it out there. Jon Stewart had 1.7 average viewers per night. Trevor Noah has 800,000. I don't know if it's the numbers. I have a different opinion. Sometimes enough. I'll just tell you my opinion. I feel like I've been talking a lot and I'm already out of breath. I just feel like, you know what, he's done what he needed to do with this, right? And he's very popular. I don't think it's really the numbers. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But Al, you could maybe speak to this. What's it like not having a boss, because you do have a boss here, as opposed to going on the road and doing what you want and not checking your material and saying what you want and having that creative freedom?
Well, I mean, it depends on where you are in the rest of your life. If you're still in the phase where you kind of want to break out of your cage and test your boundaries, then that's kind of the life for you. But if you think about, you know, there was a book called The War for Late Night and like all the things that went down with Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
People got these seats, Erica, and they literally sat into them until somebody pushed them out, until they fell over dead. You know, this was your final job, but now we're seeing James Corden leave. We're seeing Trevor Noah leave, and I think maybe it's just a different mindset of human beings in general that, like, I did that. I'm financially good. I'm going to try something else, rather than just being like, this is the gig and I'm good for life.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that, because that's something that's constantly in my mind. When I first got my first job in radio, it was my dream job. I thought I was going to be there for 20 years, which was the template. The people who were there with me were there for 20 years. But we don't have the same 5 networks anymore. We don't have the same everyone vying for the same opportunities. People are creating their own brands and their own opportunities and really monetizing more than what the cap is in some of these institutionalized seats. So I think this is just the way of the world at this point. Plus, to even talk about the ratings is literally comparing apples and oranges. 7 years, does anyone really understand the culture swing in the past 7 years when it comes to the content that Trevor Noah and Jon Stewart are bringing? There has been an astronomical shift, and a part of that has to do with the fact that digital has come in, streaming has come in. All of these people who we didn't know 7 years ago are now powerhouses. So the pool has been diluted.
Right, and he has like 11 million Twitter followers. He has 7 million Instagram followers. And so when you think about his content going worldwide, people in South Africa love him. He said this in his goodbye speech in India. So it's not just like an American television show, and that's where you're getting all the notoriety from. It's from across the globe. Now, my mom has a random theory that's not proven by any real news source.
I love that.
She thinks that he is taking over for James Corden, which would be a similar job, but obviously a way bigger audience. And so we'll see if that happens. Honestly, I tried to fact check that, and I couldn't find anything.
It's not crazy.
It's not crazy.
Not, but wouldn't that be kind of considered a lateral move?
Yes.
If he's trying to switch up?
Well, Comedy Central versus CBS, you know, and I don't know if they're both owned by Viacom. Somebody can fact check me on that. But if they are, it would make sense in the same company to like just move over to the bigger show.
It's
I don't know.
Crazy.
Susan might be up to something.
If he's leaving because he's stifled at Comedy Central, good luck at CBS. All right, when I was little. All right, so Bruce Willis is unretiring, well, sort of. The actor retired last year after his aphasia diagnosis, but he just sold his image rights to an AI company. So here's a look at his digital twin. I want to look at this because I haven't seen it. So this is the AI. Wow, it was used in a commercial last summer. Bruce is the first celeb to sell his face.
What?
Can you tell that's an AI if you were just looking at it casually without me saying that?
No.
Then it's the first time ever that I feel like I haven't been able to tell.
Wow. And it's just going to get better and better. What do you think about this, Al?
I mean, I look at it and it's just like it's scary because we're going to have now as people that we know and we loved their art. There was something about them that resonated with us. And so our natural inclination is to say, well, I want to see more of that. Unfortunately, even if they die, I still want to see my favorite person. But is it still them? Is my question. Is it still them? And if you don't like the movie, are you going to say, well, it's because it wasn't really them and it was really just a computer screen? Or if you loved it, will you say, wow, they did a great job, but they've been dead for 7 years, so did they do a good job? I think it just opens up a whole can of worms, and I think you can close that can by just continuing to bring along new actors.
Well, I don't think that one has to exist without the other existing. I think much to the point of the last discussion, the market is open. Mm-hmm. And at least this is a situation where people are giving their own consent for their likeness to be used and move on. The audience will dictate what is going to be kosher and what's not going to be, what they're going to support and what they're not going to support. But that's not going to stop this. I mean, this is technology. We're not going to pause it because people feel like, oh, it might be amoral. Since when did we do that?
I feel like this has come a long way since that bootleg Tupac hologram that everybody was angry about.
You thought it was bootleg?
And I was still excited about that.
Come on,
I was still excited.
Compared to this.
I know.
And so I think that on the one side it's really cool, but on the other side it freaks me out. And I'm kind of having that like grandma meltdown of like, at the grocery store when you think about nobody working there anymore because the machines take over. I'm like, okay, well, where are the actors going to work? Because all these AI, like you're going to have your favorite celebrity for life. No need for somebody else to come in. You just keep Sidney Poitier forever. No need for Denzel.
But we have The Rock without, if they kept CGIing a young Arnold Schwarzenegger and everything. Like there needs to be a new action star. There needs to be a new that girl and a new leading man. It's kind of like how things cycle. So I'm just interested to see if we're just going to stick with one person in perpetuity.
Yeah, I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth because I'm like, I'm kind of with you, but it'd be cool like if in a James Bond he walked in a room and it was all the James Bond, right? So if you had like really little sneak peek cameos like in a movie that really meant something to the movie, that'd be cool. But then where do you draw the line? Because I'd also go to a full concert of Bob Marley, and that's not a sneak peek, right? So I'm kind of talking out of both sides, like when is enough? Where do you draw the line? And I think if the technology keeps progressing, which it will, they'll be able to have Bruce Willis star as the leading man in the whole movie.
Right, and I don't Die Hard.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, there'll be a market for it. All right, so Jessica Simpson is opening up about the one moment that defined her entire life and the piece of advice she received from a Hollywood icon. Let's take a look.
Linda Carter warned me on the set of Dukes of Hazzard. She was like, I will always be Wonder Woman and compared to Wonder Woman, and that's what you're doing here as Daisy Duke. I decided, okay, everybody's gonna talk about my weight all the time. I might as well make money off of it and turn it into a business of selling clothes and acceptance.
So in case you don't remember, Jessica played the character Daisy Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard movie back in 2005 and kind of just rode that wave and capitalized, and now she's worth $1 billion.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I don't think it was an issue for her as a billionaire, if that's still standing the way that they're saying how much money she's making. I mean, it worked out in her favor. And I think that we all probably have, I don't know, I can speak for myself, have this anxiety of like, this decision that I make is going to be life-changing. And like, while it has been many times, like, you have the ability and the power and autonomy over your own life to redirect at any time, I believe, unless you make some catastrophic life mistake.
Even if you do, but it's scary. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's very scary.
Yeah, Jessica was no doubt financially successful, but look at the cost, because this was a woman who was very much like, we didn't have as many people to talk about in pop culture when she was being discussed and her body was being discussed, and all of the jokes were being thrown at her because her body was changing as a woman who was being a woman.
Right, I'm going to say every woman.
As a woman being a woman. So I think that the emotional toll of that, it's probably good she had a heads up that this one, she wasn't alone, because who would have thought, like, okay, I played Daisy Duke, who else can relate to my situation? So I think it's really great when somebody comes in and provides and offers mentorship.
Yeah, and makes them $1 billion doing it.
Yes, but I mean, it's interesting. she has the $1 billion, but she still really the first thing she talked about in that interview was the weight comments, and it just shows you that no matter how many yachts you're on, Lindsay, no matter how many helicopter tours you get, you still remember that thing when your mom called and said, "Look what they wrote about my baby." And as we talked to Perez Hilton, who seems like he's kind of on a mea culpa tour, I hope people realize that your words have impact now. And just calling a 20-year-old fat in a national syndication is repugnant and reprehensible, and this is the long-term effects of that. 20 years later, she's a billionaire. She's done everything that you can do, and the first thing she talks about is what people said about her, and it means something.
Well, sometimes it gets overwhelming when we have all this body positivity, and you're like, why do we need this? I'm not shaming anybody who's heavier than me or smaller than me, but the reason is because for decades, we've had all this criticizing, especially of women's bodies, and so now it's like over the top trying to rectify all that damage that was done to everybody who was probably Jessica Simpson's age and older.
Yeah. Every time I listen to something motivational about successful people and they're billionaires or whatever, they're like, money's not even, I know I have it, but it's not a problem. Here's what I'm worried about. And it's worried about the comments. I'm worried about this and worried about getting better. It's like, once you have money, they always say you can't explain it. It's not a thing. But I mean, is that a thing because you don't have it and have to worry about it anymore? Or is it towards the end of your life, that's not what you're worried about? You're worried about kind of your image. So it's kind of a conundrum.
That brings us back to Tom Brady. He should be worried about the family and other things and not the money.
Are you bringing up the Brady thing again? You want to just get into this Brady debate?
We just do a whole segment.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Take away Brady's money. He's the GOAT. He didn't buy his way there. All right, in the break, we're going to talk about it. Coming up on DBL, Candace Cameron Bray is talking about how important sex is with your partner, even at your age. Or as you age. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about Tom Brady thing. And Lizzo makes history by playing a flute that belonged to a former president. Erica is breaking it all down for us in What Erica's Watching. That's next. Stick around.
Closed captioning provided by
Hey, just stopping by to say we're taking over. We're made of this. We're taking over. You know what time it is. We're taking over.
For anybody tuning in, to give you some context to the Tom Brady thing, again, Jeff and I got into it about Tom Brady. As you know, he decided to play again. His wife really didn't want him to. Caused a rift. Tom said, "I'll never understand because he's the greatest of all time." I mean, Jeff said, "I'll never understand." He's the greatest of all time, so the greatest doesn't just step aside so easily, and also the family can rest in the multi-millions that he's bringing in, probably close to billions in deals and everything that he brings in by just being Tom Brady.
Wait, Lindsay, hold on, Jeff, one second. Because I'm going to follow up on Lindsay's point. Please answer. Last night we saw, unfortunately, a quarterback for the Dolphins looked like he got really injured.
Oh yeah, Colin told me about that.
Right. So, do you think Giselle, who knows that Tom has allegedly had concussions, because if he has one more bad one and he retires, but it's like kind of lifelong and he's a little bit slower. If she's like, was the extra 4 games you played worth this? I think.
You make a great point.
My thought that why it came in my head, you asked me, is because Giselle has been a millionaire.
Right.
So maybe she's like, yo, what are we doing this for? I know you love the love.
No, I totally agree.
But she's like, yo, the money. So if she's in that space of the money doesn't matter, and he should be in that space, then it really just is the passion for the sport.
Absolutely. So, I believe Tom Brady. I know Michael Jordan did it when he was on the Bulls, but he gave up part of his salary. One, he was making a ton of money in endorsements.
Well, the Wizards. Was it the Wizards?
No, it was the Bulls so they could sign some more people.
His salary for the Wizards was, I think, did he play for free so he could get a part owner? Okay. I don't know that specifically, but the point is, he didn't care about the money. He was making so much money, he didn't care about it, and he wanted his other teammates, I believe, like Scottie Pippen famously, to get some of that money. I think LeBron, did he do the same?
LeBron tried to, but the salary cap makes it hard.
And I thought Tom Brady did that too.
Well, and the thing is,
look into all this.
Since you're talking about money, I wonder if Giselle is like, since money is double not a thing because of my salary and your salary,
we're good. We're
then isn't he even more obviously choosing against her?
Well, you have time, Ebony. Take your time.
Lizzo makes history. Atlanta Housewife fans weren't feeling the finale, and Megan Thee Stallion is changing lives. In this week's What Erica's Watching. Now first, the Library of Congress invited Lizzo to play President James Madison's 200-year-old flute. It was a gift to the former president and survived the burning of Washington during the War of 1812. Take a look. Make history. Did she just twerk to sounds from the 1800s? And you know Madison is rolling in his grave, and I am here for it, okay? Here for it. Next, the Atlanta Housewives season 14 finale aired Sunday night, and fans are still throwing shade, saying it was pointless and could use 2 former peach holders to spice things up. Now, Nene Leakes was on that list, who has a rocky relationship with Bravo, and Portia Williams, who left the cast to be an actual housewife with her own spinoff. So hold on to your hats, because these ladies are known for snatching wigs and dragging divas. Megan Thee Stallion launched a website for her fans with mental health resources. It connects them with free therapy to prevent suicide and substance abuse, and tools to help them bounce back after a bad day. Yes, girl, you know I am all about a comeback. Share with me anything that catches your eye by using the hashtag DBL We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a...
Some of the images out of Florida this week have been hard to believe, and some you shouldn't believe. So let's look at some of the wildest viral posts we're seeing online, digging into the details using these sources. We're going to start with a classic hurricane hoax. Pictures like this one, this tweet showing a shark on a highway, or so it says. It's gotten nearly 45,000 retweets, 477,000 likes, and that's just this time around. Turns out that this is the same photo that was shared during at least 3 previous major hurricanes, but it turns out it's actually from a 2005 issue of Africa Geographic magazine. This photo spread right here, edited to look like it actually happened on an interstate. Okay, how about this video right here with more than 200,000 views showing people partying on a balcony, supposedly during Ian's lightning strikes.
Something's on fire!
Now, we were able to find exactly where this video was taken in Fort Myers, which is near where Hurricane Ian made landfall, but it's an old video posted to both Imager and TikTok months ago, not during the hurricane. And here's another video showing a massive seal scooting along the sidewalk, supposedly in Florida. More than 15 million people have watched this video, which was actually taken in 2020 in a coastal town in southern Chile. Don't worry, according to an Argentinian news outlet that reported the story at the time, the Chilean Navy and local community helped the seal get back to sea. Check out this photo of a flock of flamingos hanging out in a bathroom hunkered down for the storm. It turns out this one is real. The flamingos live at Sunken Gardens Park in St. Petersburg, Florida. They shared the photo from their official account to let people know the flamingos were having a hurricane party in the bathroom, eating, drinking, and dancing. Sounds like a good way to ride out a storm to me. If you have something you want us to verify, send it our way. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
Welcome back. This is going to be a fun one. Candace Bray is dishing on her sex life once again. Speaking on Mayim Bialik's podcast, Candace said she and her husband of 26 years realized the importance of having a healthy sex life, but says sex within marriage gets a bad rap because people think your sex life dies after marriage. Have a listen.
You know, when we look at it from our culture and society today, it's always like, oh, you're married, 10 years. When was the last time you had sex? That's like always the joke. Right. And it can be funny, and I can roll with it, but I do think it's important to share what a healthy sex life within marriage can be, just in saying that's important.
Is it? Or can't you just say, man, we get it on, it's all good? Do you need to be you need to have a podcast about it?
I think the reason why,
mine would be a short podcast.
I don't think it's a stigma, because a stigma implies a disgrace. There's supposed to be shame behind married people's sex life.
Right.
I think the idea of married people not having sex was something that was created by single people who wanted to shame in some way or rib married people. Al,
No, I get where you're going. Finish, yeah.
Like, let me finish this. It's the same type of stigma that married people put on single people. However, I really think the issue with married people and having sex is the fact that no one cares. That's at the root of it. Because it's more interesting to hear about someone who's still like testing the market, because that might be a potential suitor for you, or it might be someone who you're interested in, or you're interested in what they're doing. But if somebody's already said, I'm locked down in the institution of marriage, why is that interesting what they're doing in the bedroom?
Because that's when you can get really freaky.
Yeah, but
when you're married,
but who says married people don't? That's the stigma.
But I'm saying that
Al says
that
they
would be
don't.
a more interesting story. Like if you were like, hey, we've been in this 10 years, but we do this and this, and we have adventures around the world. Like you can be still.
I don't want to hear that from any of y'all at any time, and I'm sure you don't want to hear it from me.
But Lindsay, can we be honest? The reason that this is not a stigma, but a thing that's around in our society where somebody can make a joke and people understand what you're saying, is because a lot of times it's true. A lot of times after you've been with somebody for a while, the factory shuts down. It doesn't close, but there's only like 3 guys working there. Somebody sweeping, you know, and it's like, we have to be honest about the fact that it does
the downsizing
go all the way. Erica, for a lot of people.
But that's your experience.
Not just me.
But I'm saying you're saying it, so you're identifying an experience. To me, I have girlfriends who are single, and we'll have conversations, and they'll start talking about, more intimate details. And they've asked me, and I'll straight up be like, I'm not interested in having this conversation.
Right.
Simply not because I'm trying to hide that we're not doing anything. It's that it's my marriage and it's none of your business. Like, you're talking about men who are for the streets right now. My husband is not. So that might be a part of it.
I'm with you. Everything you said, I'm with you. Where are you at?
I'm not married, so I don't know. Me and Colin are just chilling right now.
Kind of. I mean, you could go into that.
You're Commonwealth, for sure.
I know we've been together long enough. Honestly, I guess we'll cross that bridge when it comes. I'm hoping that the rumors are not true. And so I'm also not going to ever ask anybody who's married or has been married what the situation was. I'm just going to sort it out for myself.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Very private. But like Erica said, if no one wants to hear even about my marriage and sex life, right? But if I was single and I went down to Latin America or vice versa, you know what I mean? Then you're like, what happened? What happened? What happened down there? You know what I mean? Then you want to know what's going on,
It's a thing, but I'm just saying we have to be honest about this. When you have a pairing of 2 people, sometimes one partner does want to continue having a sex life, and for whatever reason, sometimes it's physical, mental, whatever, sometimes your other partner just kind of shuts down, and I think that's why most people relate to those jokes. No one ever goes, I don't understand that joke. People get the joke, whether they live it or not. So that means it is his thing.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree. All right, good combo. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
The rebuilding and aid starts now for areas in Southwest Florida. Disasters can happen everywhere, but it's the recovery part that can take a long time. So we wanted to look into assistance and who is eligible.
For these questions, we went straight to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA. The first question, if you're a renter, can you get assistance from FEMA? According to their website, FEMA assistance is not just for homeowners. FEMA may provide help to renters who lost personal property or were displaced. So we can verify that yes, you can get help from FEMA if you are a renter. The next question, if there are other family members or roommates living in your home, can everyone get assistance? FEMA says they evaluate the needs of eligible survivors on a case-by-case basis, but are committed to giving each individual survivor help. They also say it's important for homeowners to tell them all the needs of each member in the household, whether they're related or not. So we can verify that yes, it is possible for roommates or family members to also receive aid, but this is of course on a case-by-case basis. The final question, if you apply, will this assistance affect Social Security benefits, taxes, food stamps, or Medicaid? According to FEMA, the assistance is not considered taxable income and will also not affect benefits from other federal programs. So we can verify that no, it will not affect your taxes or any other federal programs.
You can apply for disaster relief through FEMA. We have a link right on our website, WCNC.com. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg. The post on Facebook gives a warning to dog owners saying the plug-in oil diffusers are unsafe for dogs and got one of her pups very sick. So are oil diffusers unsafe for your pets to smell? To get answers, we went to veterinarian specialist Fred Winninger at Charlotte Animal Referral Emergency and Animal Poison Control. Though these plug-ins and diffusers can smell lovely, Dr. Winninger says they can be dangerous for your pets if they ingest the oils.
The primary concern for dogs and cats is not as much inhaling these oils, which can be mildly irritating, as opposed to getting them on their skin or ingesting them, especially in their most concentrated forms.
Dr. Winninger says if they ingest the oil, it could lead to vomiting, diarrhea, and depending on how much your pet consumes, liver failure. He says some oils are worse for pets than others.
And the ones we worry about most are things like tea tree, pennyroyal, wintergreen, and pine oils. And they can cause varying degrees of problems.
Animal Poison Control and Dr. Winninger both tell us there really is no harm if dogs or cats can smell the diffusers, so you don't have to throw it out, but make sure to keep it in a place they can't get to it. Animal Poison Control says if you notice your pet is coughing while the diffuser is running, you may want to get rid of it and light a candle instead.
The candles are not going to be nearly as dangerous as the nebulizers or the aerosolizers because they create oil microdroplets which can land on the skin.
So we can verify in most cases oil diffusers are not dangerous for pets if they smell it. However, it can be dangerous if it gets on their skin or they ingest it. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Welcome back. Have you guys heard about Camp Lejeune? It's a military training base in North Carolina, and unfortunately, anyone who lived or worked there may have been exposed to toxic water. This could cause serious health conditions. If you develop any of the following, attorneys with the Victims Justice Group are hoping to help. To our viewers, if you or someone you know lived or worked on the base between 1953 and 1987, please call 800-793-9967. All right, so we continued our conversation of sex in the break. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you? We came to this conclusion. If you're always talking about sex, I feel like you're talking a big game. You're not performing.
Right. We said there's certain couples that give off that vibe, and it would be Idris Elba and his wife, Sabrina.
Yeah.
They give off a vibe like, yeah, it's going down.
Yeah, but I mean, some people, I'm just not buying it.
Right.
You know
It's
what I
subtle.
mean? Yeah, like
It's
the
subtle.
Suzanne Summers things we were bringing up. You guys all know she said she had sex 4 times a day. Get real. No, you don't. You know what I mean?
Leave that lady alone.
Now you leave her alone. She did a whole tour on it, having sex 4 times a day. You eat 3 times a day. You're not having sex 4 times.
Well, every
have
other,
4
you got to
meals.
start with the sex and then the meal. Sex meal.
You
sex
got
meal.
sex then meal?
And then midnight.
You need to
Yeah.
replenish.
Okay.
Let's see you on
Good night.
Monday. Have a good weekend. Replenish those fluids.